Why did you move the champion over here, Father?
Because I'm doing shameless promotion. See, I figure if I keep this in everybody's mind, you'll sell it, and then I won't have to work on it.
Okay. That's like cheating, but that's all right.
I don't remember any rules.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to win anyway, so.
No, I doubt it. Grumpy Nation is going to come forward and save me.
All right, so what do we got going on?
Anyway, check out the champion. It's for sale. Don't forget. Okay, so we have been very, very busy. Can't remember where we left off, but anyway. We put our favorite bathroom material down, and I spray painted it black. Came out very, very nice. I really like that look. Really, really do like the look. You say to yourself, why are these two strips not painted? That's because that's where the two uprights are going to go. And quite honestly, I was concerned that the little amount that this is with the glue will lift it up and affect our angles in here that we won't touch. May or may not, but it's not worth taking a chance because I've made those mistakes before. This has been epoxied a couple of times, and we probably will bond with the I think it's Loctite glue these pieces in front and back. So we've been working really hard on that. Look, this turned out really super nice. I don't know if you can really see from the camera. Don't forget the champion, by the way. So trying something a little different here. Not 100% sure about this, and I'll probably let you know tomorrow in tomorrow's update if this is going to work. On this one, we used the roller bed liner, and these are the pieces that when you lift up the lids, you will see these, and I'm kind of undecided. This one you won't see. These four you will see. So I'm kind of undecided right now. If it doesn't look like it's going to work out, we'll do the same trick, put the plastic on it and spray painting it, but I'll know better about that tomorrow. A little bit disappointed in the way it looks, but might just leave it until we do the install and then decide at that point in time which way to go. So, Michael finished up these this morning and got the epoxy on, hid all the screws and stuff. We're going to put our usual kickboard on one side, be the thicker plastic. The other side will be the thinner plastic because it's just there for appearances. And the same here. This one will have one on one side and one on the other side. The top will be carpeted. This one you will see, and this one you will see. So I'll kind of, once we put it back in, I'll kind of go back over that again with you. But it's upside down right now because we epoxied the bottom, and as you know, we like to get a lot of epoxy on this stuff so it'll be as water repellent as we possibly can. This is a test piece here. This one, this is for, I don't know, it's for the centerpiece, that right there. And so I've already pre-painted this. And this is also with the bed liner, and it just turns out super great. So it starts out white, paint it like this. It's really good if you do it in the sun, but don't leave it out there too long because it'll warp it. So if you kind of stick it out in the sun, let it warm up just a little bit. I mean a little bit. And then you hit it, leave it out there for a few more minutes, and then bring it inside so it doesn't warp on you. If you leave it outside, it's going to warp on you. Well, I guess depending on where you live. Here in Texas, it's like 100 degrees, so you might want to be careful. If you're somewhere where it's a lot cooler, you probably can get away with it. So check your local temperatures and stuff. Michael has gone through and cut the tops for these. Obviously, these will be getting painted black, and the other side will be getting carpet. We're going to glue these. We're going to decide probably tomorrow whether or not we paint them first and then glue them, or glue them and paint them. We're kind of undecided on that. That's the reason why we're doing this test, because as you know, sometimes the chemicals will affect what you've got going on, and so we're doing a little bit of a test on this one because it doesn't really matter. But we have obviously the epoxy. We will rough up the epoxy, then we will glue, and then we will glue this to it. Now, our concern is sometimes that if we do that and then spray the top, whether or not we get some kind of chemical reaction, and we're not 100% sure. So that's the reason why we're trying 2 different ways to see which is the best way to do it. I don't know what order this comes out in, but anyway, we are going tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a short day for us. We're going to be leaving around noon, and we're going to go look at a project boat. And Michael's very excited about this boat. I'm very excited about this boat. I'm going to try to do a little video. It was on the road to go see it, and hopefully we can get some video of it whilst we're there. It needs a lot of work, unlike the Champion. Okay, this boat that we're going to see tomorrow needs a lot of work, and so I think it's going to be a perfect project boat. I think we're going to have fiberglass. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on with it. Well, don't want to get too much into it. We'll go see it tomorrow. Obviously, it's got to be sound, although it's rough. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think it'll be a good comparison, to be honest with everybody. I think it'll be a great comparison between the two. So I'll be able to show you two different boats. A boat that doesn't need Grumpy's attention, and one that does need Grumpy's attention. So after this is all going to get edited out because Michael edits the videos, and so he's going to try to cheat and
I think
influence people's votes.
How dedicated are you to getting this thing sold?
I'm very dedicated.
I think you should climb up in there and show them how much rod space is in there and lay in there.
Do you know how hot it's in there right now?
It is really hot. I'm just saying.
Tomorrow I'll do it when it's cooler. I'm not getting in there with 100 degrees. I might not get out. But I'm very motivated. And like I said, it'll be a good comparison. I really, I'm telling you, when you'll see what I'm talking about when you see both boats. And Michael's upset with me, but he'll get over it. So, but tomorrow when you see this boat, you're going to go, I can see what Grumpy's talking about. So, another good day on this boat here. When you're doing your project, and we've done a lot better at it this time, the more of these projects we've done, the better we've got at it, is planning your project out so you have the least amount of downtime. The epoxy takes 24 hours. And it really does. It gets tacky. It tacks up fairly fast, but to be fully solid, it's a 24-hour deal. So tomorrow morning when we come in, it'll be really close. But I don't like to spray any other chemicals or put the glues on it until we've had a full 24 hours. So you need to try to plan your projects around that. We just did a quick cleanup around the shop because it looked like a bomb had hit it. So anyway, just kind of plan your projects out so where you can maximize your time if you're working on weekends or evenings. That way you don't go, oh, I can't do anything because of this or whatever. So Valerie's been, there's carpet all over the place, and Valerie's been doing all the takeoffs for the carpet, and obviously I think we probably will be carpeting Thursday, Friday at the latest if everything goes right. My suspicions are. But we're still a ways away. But I think it's coming along real well. Very happy with the way it's going. But don't forget the Champion. Please buy it, so I don't have to work on it. And we'll talk to you later. So we're installing the trolling motor, and as we discussed before, Hugh measured up this plate for us to mount it. One of the things that you need to look out for is when you install this, and I'm not an expert on trolling motors, okay, so let's get that straight. But what you need to do, one of the things, this isn't quite lined up right there, so that's close enough.
They might need to go further forward.
Huh?
They might need to go further forward.
That fine?
Yeah.
What is that? Anyway. Something like that. So what we're doing is you've got to make sure it's far enough forward for it to deploy correctly. The other thing that we've tried to make sure of is that we're within inside the boat. Okay? Now, you can't always do that. That's not always possible. But make sure you think it out, that this isn't sticking out here or something. Because I'm telling you, if you leave something sticking outside, it's just a matter of time before something gets ripped off. So what we try to do when at all possible is keep everything on the inside of the boat. That is not possible on every single boat, I can assure you. So sometimes this will get tilted out slightly, or whichever way it makes a difference, but we try to make sure that we have everything within the confines of the boat. That way there's less potential for it getting ripped off when you're loading, unloaded, getting in and out of your garage, those kind of things. It isn't always possible, so just kind of keep that in mind, but think it through. So we're going to nutsert these, and we're going to show you how we do that, and then we're going to bolt this down. We're going to run the wires up through here, and so don't want to talk too much about it, but we want to show you what we're doing. So we're going to drill the pilot holes for 1/4 20, and then we're going to nutsert the back side. So we're going to show you a little bit about how we do that. Okay? So what Michael's done here is pre-drilled the holes for the bolts, and then he's transfer punched them into this, so that you can see here, that's where we've got a drill for the nutserts. Okay? This is a transfer punch. You can get these on Amazon. These are a great tool to have in your toolbox if you're doing a lot of this kind of work. So Michael put a link down below. So, but then we're going to install these nutserts in here, 4 of them, and then back here we'll obviously be attaching it back here with additional fasteners. So anyway, that's how we did it, and we'll keep you updated. Thank you. Okay, so we got the nutserts installed. Michael installed the nutserts. Did a really good job this time. Usually he uses too much muscle power and strips the threads, so he's getting better at that. Now, when you install stainless to stainless, use a little bit of this stuff, because let me tell you, it'll gall like you've never galled before. And then you have a nutsert which is spinning, and it gets real difficult to get out. So just take the time, and I'm just talking a little bit, goes a long way with this stuff. Put it on there and you'll thank me later. So
Trust me, I do this about once a week and forget, and then have to break a bolt off and do it all over again.
Yeah, so yeah, just take a little bit of time to do that, and anyway, we'll keep you updated. Okay, so we have this installed, and I'm going to share some things with you that we've learned from installing several of these. So, as from the earlier videos, we nutserted the outside ones, and then we nutserted these 4. Okay, these 4, and they go into the boat itself. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and the reason I'm going to tell you this because we've had problems. Every time we took this on and off, except for one time, and it kind of messed with us, you put all the bolts back in, so it stays in the same position. Then when we drilled we put these 2 in, and we was off slightly, so we had to drill the holes out, even with the precautions we took. So we had to make them slightly bigger. Then we did these 2 here. Okay, and then we made sure that this was all tightened down before we put these 2 in. So it was a lot of on, off, and yes, it's a real pain, but I'm going to tell you, it's worth it. We got the job done. A couple of hours, probably. Well, actually, probably closer to 3 hours. And that's quite a bit of time for a job like this. But quite honestly, a lot of it was taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on. I do not like this design. And I got to be honest with you. It makes putting these bolts in here very, very difficult. You say to yourself, well, why don't you go to hex? Well, you can't get the hex in there because they hit the side of the trolling motor. So optimally, in the past, we were talking about it. Usually we use the socketed cap screw one, and then we use the ball Allen wrenches to get in there, which is slightly better, but it's still not the best. These back two we bolted. They're bolted and nutted with lock nuts, and then these are straight through into the bottom. Now this is obviously going to be powder coated. We're going to make a nice little cover here to cover this up and to make it a little more safer, so if somebody's up here on the deck, they can't cut their foot or something, okay? And then we're going to trim out this edge here, probably do it both sides, with a little bit of that edge, rubber stuff that you can buy. And then that way, if somebody gets up against this, they're not going to cut themselves. One of the other opportunities we had was, this is obviously not fat, so we had to put some washers onto one side because it wanted to twist everything. That's just part of it. You can see what we're dealing with, and those are the things you have to work around. In a perfect world, this would be perfectly flat, and it's not. And those are the things we have to work around. I think this install is a real good install. The other piece of advice I have for you, because we obviously take this on and off several times, is make sure that all your cables and everything are out of the way every time you move it. That way you don't trap your cables and you don't cut them. These edges are pretty sharp from the factory, and it's a great way to cut your little cables and stuff. And let me tell you, that would be a real big pain for you. So really, really good insulation, good tight insulation. Oops, you're supposed to push this down first. And then, as you can see, all within the confines of the boat, really tight, sturdy supply. Oh, Michael lost his stuff. But anyway,
this is like our version of like the tire, when you're like ratchet strapping. You know what I'm saying? Like pulling on the boat, make sure it doesn't come off.
Yeah, it's, I don't like the way that these are done, and I'll tell you, we've had some come in that we've had to work on. The guy comes in and his trolling motor is just bouncing around, and they just use screws. And some places you can't, you have to do that, but when you do that, you've got to take other precautions to make sure that the screws don't back out. You have to pay attention to those things. So sometimes the boat that just left here this morning, we have our arms up underneath, way up to here, to make sure we get a nut and a washer on the back side. And I think out of the 6 that hold that on, 5 of them we were able to get a nut and a washer on them. One was a like self-tapping screw because we could not get to it. So I think if you kind of like have out of 6, 2 that are that way, I don't see that as a problem. But I'm a little bit more cautious than just having all 6 screwed in. So we have had boats come in, new boats come in, where we've had to work on them to reinstall the trolling motor. So good install. As you can see, we've got all our tools out, and I think it went well. I think it went real well. So anyway, if you have any questions on this, reach out to us, and any information we can give you on nutserts and the tools and stuff. Just keep that in mind. Just put a question down below. We'll answer the questions any way we can. So thanks for your time. So Michael and I have been working very hard on this, and we got it installed. Really like the way it turned out. I'll tell you, it's just really nice, but super clean installation. We radius these. We're still going to make a trim piece for here. This thing I got to put back in. I got to put that back in again. But anyway, I'll fix that here in a minute. There we go. So we're going to make a trim piece here. Got our trim pieces here, and it turned out to be super clean. Michael spent quite a bit of time getting all the wires straight under here. You really can't see anything, but we used a connector. We still got to hook up the stereo speakers, and we're going to leave this wire in here in case somebody needs to pull some more, or rope should I say, in case somebody needs to pull some more power through. We're going to put a false steel up at the back and replace that piece of foam that we had to take out to get the wires to the front. This turned out really nice here. Nice little clean cover. This feeds into an existing hole. And obviously our wires go down to our usual, making sure that we cover the wires so we don't get problems down the road. But I think this turned out really good. It's one of those things that it's been a pretty warm day. We're about 6.5, 7 hours in, and it's 101 degrees here in Houston today, so it turned out great. It really did. So you know, obviously keeping things clean and organized. I don't really know what's next. I guess tomorrow we'll start to put all the back together, and we're pretty close to done at that point in time. Probably got, I don't know if we'll get all the latches on there tomorrow. You never know. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't, but hopefully we can get that all buttoned up back there, and I think it should be ready to go then. I don't know what else to do after that. So this turned out really, really nice. It's just super sweet, really good looking installation. It's always makes you feel good when you do something like that. So took a little time to plan this out in advance of how we was going to do it. The one thing probably we would have changed is to run the wires before we put all this in. But hindsight's 20/20. Yes, it took us a little bit while longer, but had to be done. And quite honestly, with the trolling motor and everything on, it would have been really difficult to get them. This way, if you do need to get to the wires, you'll be able to pull them. I'm going to put a plastic fascia on there just to cover back up the foam, and that way if you need to get to the wires, you'll be able to get to the wires, run new wires, or whatever you need to do. So really happy. I hope Michael's happy with it. I hope the client's going to be happy with it. So okay, so good morning everybody. As you can see, we're down to the final few things on this boat, and I wanted to kind of give you a little insight of how we install these latches. This is not the time to guess or gamble, because if you do, it's going to cost you a lot of time of redoing stuff. So make sure that you take your time and follow the procedure. So I want to kind of give you an insight of what we do. So we find in this case, we're finding the center of the locker this way. And that ends up being, what was it, 13 and a quarter, something like that. But we check it, then we check it both sides. So we do the math and we check it both sides, like so. There's always maybe like a 1/16 of variation because of the carpet, but I wouldn't get too much into that. If you're within a 1/16, I think you'd be good. The other thing that you've got to take into consideration is this side inside. So you need to know your distance from here to there. So for instance, if you're going to latch on the outside of this, you have this flap out. So we know it's 4 inches from there to there. And if we were to do it that way, our line would be up here on this line, the one we've crossed out. We're not going to do it that way because we feel it puts our latch too far this way. So what you end up doing is you fold that over, you put it back, and you move the line over this way. And in this case, we will be latching underneath. So the other thing, as you can see, is we've used some tape to mark this all up. We measure it twice, 3 times, etc. Then we get the hole cutter out and we punch the hole through. Invariably, you have to remove this gasket. With the ones we do, we have to remove this gasket because it's just too thick. with the carpet and everything in there, it ends up being too thick, so we have to remove the gasket. And we come back, and after we've done them all, at the end of the day, we come in and epoxy the inside. You must epoxy the inside. If you don't, you're going to have problems down the road. So I will say that this is pretty stressful. We've done enough of them now that we've kind of got a little procedure, but even with that procedure, we double check and triple check everything, and we double check either side. One of the things, because as we've discussed before, the bones aren't always totally symmetrical. So there is a difference on this side. So on this side, we're actually going to have to put a piece in here for this to latch to. If we don't, it'll look kind of really weird because they won't be the same. If you look at the boat, one will be over this way, and it's a big enough number in this case that we've decided we will actually put a piece on that for it to latch onto. You know, guys, I've spent a long time trying to figure all this stuff out, and I finally got to the point that it's just not worth it. It's just part of this, you know, boat building. I would be interested if we ever get a new JON boat that's not several years old, how that works out, not been wrecked up front and stuff. So some of these things, you know, just out of your control, and you're going to get some differences in your lockers. You know, you can spend days, as I have in the past, shifting it backwards and forwards, and it doesn't make a whole hell of a difference at the end of the day. The other thing that you do need to do on these, so for instance on these, we're going to center them between here and here, obviously, because it'll look better. Not necessarily from there to there, find the center, because then they would look askew. But lay out your latches correctly. The other thing is look at your build. Like for instance on Mitch's boat, we actually moved these over, and the reason why we moved them over because it made sense where you would load your stuff. So think about that. In this case, this is a good location. It's not for loading rods, it's just a locker. On Mitch's boat, we moved it over this way because when you was actually doing it, lifting up the locker, it made more sense because you were putting rods in and stuff. So take a few minutes and think that thing out. Maybe think about it overnight. I think this is probably pretty stressful for both Michael and I because we really don't want to have to remake one of these lids and recarpet and all the rest of it. That to do one of these lids start to finish is probably a day's work, quite honestly. By the time you cut the wood, put all the waterproofing on, paint the one side, put the carpet on, remount everything, you're probably looking at a good day's work. Not totally working on it because you have to wait for the epoxy to dry and stuff like that. So this is how we do it. We'll show a little bit more as we go along, you know, after we get the hole in all the way through to putting the epoxy on tonight, and hopefully that'll give you the confidence you need to cut holes in your lid. But it is that old adage, measure twice, measure 10 times. Get somebody to double check you. You know, get your neighbor or your wife or your daughter, your son, come out, just make sure you're centered and stuff like that. And don't worry about a 16th. 16th is going to make a difference. You start getting into quarter, 3/8, you probably need to make some adjustments, right? It's going to look kind of a little bit skewed up. So there we are, and we'll keep you updated. Thanks.
Hey guys, it's Michael with Mealey Marine, and in today's video we're going to be doing the final walkthrough on this JON boat to bass boat conversion. I hope you guys have been following along. So let's just go ahead and we'll start up here at the front and we'll work our way to the back. So originally there was a big light bar that ran across the front. We removed it to make room for this Motor Guide XI5 trolling motor. This is a 12-volt system. And then we went with a small LED light bar right here. And we off-centered it because there's a big hump here, but it came out really nice. We custom fabricated this bracket right here for the trolling motor to sit on, and came out really nice, easy deploying. The black powder coat looks really nice. And something that we did, and you guys will see in the videos, is that we nutserted this down to here, so it's basically like bolting it, and it's very, very sturdy. You can tow the boat by this, and something that we're really proud of. Moving on back, we recarpeted the whole boat. And up here we had to put a seat post base for this front seat post. And since it was going to sit up above the rest of the deck, we didn't like the way that it looked, so we put 1/8 inch plywood, we epoxied it, and we cut out the recess here so that it all sits flush. It's really nice. We got a sturdy seat post, and it turned out really, really good. My mom did a great job doing the carpet on it. Moving on back, we redid the flooring as well. The flooring is made out of 1/2 inch epoxy plywood, carpeted. Came out really nice. We had to replace it because the old stuff was really, really flimsy. All the speakers, all the lights, we rewired everything. And we cleaned up this section of the boat. The wiring turned out really nice. It's super clean. Before it was just all jumbled up here. Now this is actual usable space. And it looks really good. It's really easy to operate. Real quick, something that I forgot is if you look up into that hole right there, that's where all of our wiring for our trolling motor is. And we did on this trolling motor here, we did a quick disconnect, like a battery quick disconnect, and there's also the power posts right there. So it's really easy to uninstall this if you needed to, or just replace it with a different trolling motor. So moving on here to the back, this is the majority of the work. This took us the longest, was building out this back casting deck. It's made out of 2x4s and plywood per customer request. It's carpeted, 3/4 inch plywood that's epoxied. We got latches, and it turned out really, really nice. It's a little dusty, but we got flooring in here, a bunch of open space, a bunch of casting, and it turned out really, really cool. We also have a seat post here. It just looks really, really cool. If I can get this latched down. All right, last thing is, before this boat had a I don't know, duck motor, where a mud motor, and so the customer wanted that removed. We removed it, and back here in the back we did, you know, our Mealey Marine way of battery wiring and just nice clean installation. So here on the left side, or the port side, is our trolling motor battery that's all wired up to a circuit breaker. Just real nice clean installation there. And then on this side of the boat is our cranking battery, or in this case our house battery, that runs to this Perco on-off switch. And guys, if you don't have one of these in your boat, I strongly recommend installing one. It's very simple, and it adds protection for your battery, for your boat, and also longevity of the battery, being able to turn everything off in your boat. And guys, that's pretty much it. It doesn't look like a lot. Every time I do one of these final walkthroughs, it's like, how did this take us 2.5 months to do? But it did, and I think the customer's going to be really happy with it. We're very proud of the work that we did. Each build, we're getting better and better. So if you guys like the video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of other restorations on our channel, Rangers, Boston Whalers. Check them out. And guys, we got some big things in the works for new boats coming in. So stay tuned and have a good day.